the first time my daughter told me I was too old to manage my own money. She said it in front of a bank employee. She smiled while she said it. Not a cruel smile. A patient smile. The kind people use when they believe an older person is confused, and they want everyone else in the room to know it. My mother gets overwhelmed by numbers now, she explained. I'm trying to make things easier for her. I looked at the young woman behind the desk. Then I looked at my daughter. I managed the bookkeeping for your father's business for 27 years, I said. My daughter placed her hand gently on my arm. That was a long time ago, Mom. The bank employee lowered her eyes. I did not argue. I signed nothing. I thanked the employee for her time, walked back to the car, and let my daughter believe she had embarrassed me into silence. That evening, I opened every account I owned. I checked every transfer, every withdrawal, every payment, every automatic charge. By midnight, I had found 14 transactions I did not recognize. By sunrise, I understood why my daughter wanted control of my money. And by the end of that week, she would understand that getting older had not made me careless. It had made me patient. My name is Linda Mercer. I was 72 years old when my daughter, Amanda, decided I was no longer capable of managing my finances. I lived alone in a small town outside Indianapolis. My husband, George, had died 5 years earlier after a long illness. We had been married for 46 years. George owned a plumbing supply company with his older brother. I never worked behind the counter or drove the delivery trucks, but I handled the books from a small office at the back of the warehouse. I processed payroll, tracked invoices, reconciled bank statements, prepared tax documents, chased customers who were 90 days late, and found more than one employee who believed small amounts could disappear without anyone noticing. George used to joke that I could find a missing dollar in a room full of accountants. After he died, I sold his share of the business to his brother. The agreement provided me with enough money to pay off our remaining debts and live comfortably. I also received Social Security, a modest retirement account, and income from 2 certificates of deposit. I was not rich, but I was secure. Amanda was my only child. She was 43, divorced, and raising a 16-year-old daughter named Sophie. She worked as an operations manager for a regional furniture company. For years, I admired her independence. She had survived a difficult marriage, rebuilt her career, and kept a stable home for Sophie. I helped when I could. I paid for part of Sophie's braces. I covered a summer educational program. When Amanda's car needed a new transmission, I loaned her $6,000 and told her to repay me slowly. She paid back $2,000. Then she stopped. I never pressed her. Parents often call something a gift after realizing repayment will damage the relationship. For the first few years after George's death, Amanda checked on me constantly. She called every morning. She came by on Sundays. She helped me carry heavy groceries and set up new devices. When I struggled to understand a phone update, she laughed and said, "This is why you need me." At the time, I laughed too. The first change came after I was targeted by a telephone scam. A man called claiming to be from my electric company. He said my account was overdue and my power would be disconnected unless I paid immediately. I knew something was wrong. The electric company had never demanded payment through prepaid gift cards. I hung up and called the number on my bill. The account was current. I told Amanda about it because I thought she would be proud of me. Instead, she reacted as if I had nearly lost everything. "You answered the call, yes. You talked to him for less than 2 minutes. What information did you give him? None. You could have." But I didn't. She shook her head. "Mom, these people target seniors because seniors think they can handle it. I did handle it. You got lucky." That sentence bothered me. I had recognized the scam, verified the account, reported the number. Nothing about that was luck. But Amanda began telling the story differently. When we visited her friend Carol for dinner, Amanda said, "Mom almost got taken by one of those electric company scams." I corrected her. I didn't almost get taken. You stayed on the phone with him. I hung up. Carol gave me a sympathetic look. Amanda repeated the story to my sister. Then to Sophie. Each time, the scammer became more convincing, and I became more confused. Within a month, Amanda had transformed my good judgment into evidence that I needed supervision. She started asking to see my bank statements. At first, she said she wanted to make sure no fraudulent charges had appeared. I showed her one statement. She studied it longer than necessary. What is this payment to Greenfield Services? Lawn care. You pay them every month, in the summer. That seems high. They cut the grass, trim the bushes, and clean the gutters. You could hire someone cheaper. I like their work. She pointed at another line. And this. A donation to the animal shelter, every month. Yes. How much are you giving away? It's $50. That adds up. So does everything. She did not smile. She told me I needed a monthly budget. I reminded her that all my bills were paid. I carried no credit card balance, and I had more in savings than I had 5 years earlier. She said that did not mean I was managing wisely. That was the beginning of her new language. Not confused. Not yet. Unwise. Vulnerable. At risk. Words that sounded caring until they were repeated often enough to become accusations. Amanda offered to create a spreadsheet for me. I refused. I already had one. She asked to see it. I refused again. She became offended. I'm your daughter. That doesn't make my financial records public. I'm trying to protect you. From what? From yourself, apparently. She apologized later. She said she was stressed. Her company had been restructuring, and several managers had been laid off. She was worried about losing her job. I forgave the remark. But I did not forget it. 2 months later, I fell on my front steps. I had been carrying a flower pot. My foot slipped on wet concrete, and I landed on my left wrist. The wrist was badly bruised, but not broken. Amanda came to the urgent care center. She sat beside me during the examination and answered questions the doctor had asked me. What medications are you taking? He asked. Amanda began listing them. I interrupted. I can answer. The doctor looked uncomfortable. Amanda folded her arms. On the drive home, she said I was being difficult. I was answering my own medical questions. You hesitated. I was remembering the dosage. You shouldn't have to remember, it should be written down. It is written in my phone. You never know where your phone is. I lose it on the sofa sometimes. That's what I mean. A week after the fall, Amanda arrived with several forms. She said they would allow her to help if I had another accident. One was a medical information release. One was an emergency contact form. The third was a financial power of attorney. I recognized it immediately. George and I had signed similar documents years earlier. What exactly do you think this gives you permission to do? I asked. Pay bills, speak to the bank, handle emergencies. Only if I become incapacitated, she hesitated. It's easier if it starts now. No. Mom, you just fell. I hurt my wrist, I didn't lose my judgment. She pushed the papers toward me. You don't understand how quickly things can change. I understand the document. You haven't even read it. I read the title. She stared at me. Then she laughed quietly. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're making decisions emotionally. I handed the forms back. I'm making this one clearly. She left angry. After that, our conversations became tense. Amanda began calling at random times. If I did not answer immediately, she called twice more. Then she called Sophie. Then my neighbor. She asked whether I had paid the water bill, whether I had renewed my homeowner's insurance, whether I had filed my taxes. Each question implied there was a reasonable chance I had forgotten. I answered it first. Then I stopped. The less information I gave her, the more concerned she claimed to be. One Sunday, she walked into my kitchen and opened the drawer where I kept unopened mail. You have 3 bills here. They arrived yesterday. You should not let these pile up. They have been there less than 24 hours. She picked up a credit card statement. I took it from her. Do not open my mail. I was going to help. I did not ask. Her face hardened. You're becoming secretive. I'm becoming private. There's a difference. Yes, and I know it. Amanda stopped visiting for almost 2 weeks. When she returned, she was gentle again. She brought lunch. She asked about my wrist. She apologized for pushing too hard. Then she made a suggestion. Why don't we add me as a convenience signer on your checking account? Not an owner, just someone who can help. I said no. She sighed. Then at least let me receive alerts. No. What if there's fraud? I receive alerts. What if you don't notice them? I notice them. What if you do? That question had no end. Any answer could be followed by another what if. What if I forgot? What if I fell? What if I was tricked? What if I became ill? Every possible future risk became an argument for giving her power now. I refused again. Amanda did not raise her voice. She simply said, "One day you're going to wish you had trusted me." 3 weeks later, she called and asked me to meet her at my bank. She said she had spoken with someone about adding fraud protection to my accounts. I should have refused. But she sounded calm, and I wanted the tension between us to end. At the bank, Amanda introduced me to an employee named Rachel. Rachel explained several security options: text alerts, transaction limits, a trusted contact designation. Then Amanda began speaking for me. My mother has been having difficulty keeping track of things, she said. I turned toward her. That is not true, she ignored me. She almost fell for a scam recently, and she's been forgetting bills. I have not forgotten a bill. Rachel shifted in her chair. Amanda gave her that patient smile. My mother gets defensive when we talk about this. I understood the trap immediately. If I became angry, I would appear unstable. If I remained silent, Amanda's version would stand. So I asked Rachel one clear question. Has any bill from this account been paid late in the last 12 months? Rachel checked. No. Has the account been overdrawn? No. Have there been any reported fraud losses? No. I looked at Amanda. Then there is no evidence that I cannot manage my account. Amanda placed her hand on my arm. That was a long time ago, Mom, she said when I mentioned my bookkeeping experience. I removed her hand. Then I thanked Rachel and ended the meeting. Amanda drove me home in silence. Before I got out of the car, she said, "You embarrassed me. You told a stranger I was incompetent. I said you needed help. I do not." You're 72. That is my age, not a diagnosis. She gripped the steering wheel. You're going to lose everything if you keep pretending nothing has changed. I closed the car door without answering. That evening, I sat at my desk. I intended to prove to myself that Amanda was wrong. I opened my checking account first, then my savings account, then the credit card I used for household expenses. I reviewed the previous 6 months. Most transactions were familiar. Utilities, groceries, insurance, pharmacy purchases, lawn care, donations. Then I found a payment for $480 to a company called Northview Storage. I had never rented a storage unit. I searched backward. There was another payment the month before. And another. The charges had started 5 months earlier. I checked my credit card wallet online. Amanda's old card was still listed as an authorized user card. I had added her years earlier when George was in the hospital. She had used it to buy medication and groceries for us. After George died, I forgot the card existed. I opened the detailed transaction history. Northview Storage, a home electronics store, a moving company, 2 furniture purchases, a payment to a debt consolidation service, several restaurant charges. The total exceeded $9,000. My first reaction was disbelief. My second was shame. Not because I had done something wrong. Because Amanda had spent months telling me I could not manage my money while using my account behind my back. I called the number on the back of the card. The fraud representative explained that Amanda was an authorized user. That meant the charges could be disputed, but the process would not be the same as reporting a stranger's stolen card. I asked for the card to be frozen immediately. Then I requested complete statements. The next morning, I visited the bank without Amanda. Rachel recognized me. I told her I needed to review all account activity and access permissions. She helped me print statements for the previous year. There were no unknown withdrawals from my checking account. But something else had changed. 3 months earlier, someone had updated my mailing preferences. Paper statements were disabled. The email address for alerts had been changed by one letter. Instead of Linda Mercer, it read Linda Mercer 1. That address did not belong to me. Amanda had helped me reset my online banking password after my fall. She had sat beside me at my desk. I remembered her holding my phone. I remembered leaving the room to get my identification. Rachel checked the access history. The changes had been made from a device that regularly logged in from Amanda's city. I asked Rachel to restore my information, remove all trusted devices, and add new security questions. Then I requested a written record of the changes. Rachel looked uncomfortable. Did your daughter have permission to update the account? No. Do you want us to flag the account for possible financial exploitation? I looked at her. The phrase sounded severe. Financial exploitation. Not family misunderstanding. Not borrowing. Not help. Exploitation. Yes, I said. Flag it. When I returned home, I opened every statement again. This time, I was not looking for proof that I was capable. I was looking for a pattern. Amanda had used my card, mostly in amounts below $1,000. Nothing large enough to trigger a call. Nothing so unusual that it would be obvious among regular expenses. She used it for storage, furniture, a television, and debt payments. Then I noticed a series of small transfers into an online payment service. $200, $300, $150. They occurred on days Amanda visited. The total was more than $3,000. I printed everything. I numbered each transaction. I created a spreadsheet. Date, merchant, amount, card used, location, possible purpose. By midnight, I had 14 transactions I could not explain. By 2 in the morning, I had found 23. By sunrise, the total reached $12,640. I had not lost my ability to manage money. I had trusted someone who used family access to hide what she was doing. That morning, I called my attorney, David Rosen. David had handled the sale of George's business interest and updated my estate plan. I explained what I had found. He asked whether Amanda had power of attorney. No. Was she a joint owner on any account? No. Did she have any written permission to use my card for personal expenses? No. Had I confronted her? Not yet. Don't, he said. Not until we secure everything. David advised me to preserve statements, access records, emails, and text messages. He also recommended checking my credit reports for accounts opened in my name. That frightened me more than the existing charges. I requested reports from all 3 major credit bureaus. 2 were clean. The third showed a recent inquiry from a home equity lender. I had not applied for a loan. I called the lender. After verifying my identity, the representative confirmed that an online inquiry had been submitted using my name, address, estimated home value, and income information. The application had not been completed because additional documents were required. The contact phone number belonged to Amanda. I sat at my kitchen table with the representative still speaking. Amanda had not only used my credit card. She had explored borrowing against my house. The house George and I had paid off. The house that provided my greatest security. I asked the lender to close the inquiry and send written confirmation. Then I froze my credit. David arranged to meet me that afternoon. We reviewed everything. The charges, the altered bank email, the lender inquiry, the unused power of attorney form, the conversation at the bank. David said the pattern suggested Amanda had been trying to gain broader control because the small access she already possessed was no longer enough. Why would she need so much money? I asked. Do you know whether she has debt? I knew about the car loan. Her mortgage. Sophie's school expenses. But nothing that explained this. David suggested I avoid assumptions. Follow the records, he said, not the emotion. That was advice I understood. I called Northview Storage. The employee would not discuss Amanda's account in detail, but when I provided the payment dates and last 4 digits of my card, she confirmed the card had been used for a unit rented in Amanda's name. I called the debt consolidation company. They confirmed the payment had been applied to Amanda's account. I searched court records. Amanda had been sued by a credit card company 8 months earlier. The balance was more than $28,000. Another lender had obtained a judgment. She had never told me. I checked property records. A lien had been filed against her home. The picture became clear. Amanda was not protecting me from financial mistakes. She was trying to solve her own financial crisis using my accounts. And if she could convince me, the bank, or eventually a court that I was incapable, she could gain access to far more. The next step hurt. I called Sophie. Not to question her. To make sure she was safe. She answered from school and said everything was fine. I asked whether they were moving. She became quiet. Mom said we might have to. Do you know why? She said the house costs too much. Has she rented a storage unit? Yes, she's putting furniture there. That explained the moving company and furniture charges. Amanda had been preparing to sell or lose her home. She had used my card to pay for the transition. I did not tell Sophie what I had discovered. She was 16. She was not responsible for her mother's choices. I told her I loved her and ended the call. For 3 days, Amanda did not know the card had been frozen. Then she called. Did you do something to the credit card? Yes. Why? Because I reviewed the account. There was silence. What do you mean? I checked every transaction. Her breathing changed. Mom, some of those expenses were for you. Which ones? The storage unit was for family items. What family items? Things from Dad's business. George's business records were destroyed according to schedule 3 years ago. She hesitated. The furniture was for the guest room. My guest room has furniture. I was planning ahead. For what? She became defensive. This is exactly why I wanted to manage everything. You see charges and panic because you don't remember conversations. We never discussed me paying your debt consolidation company.